Pedestrian and bicycle safety enforcement is incredibly important. There were over 900 pedestrian and bicycle-related fatalities on Texas roads in 2021. Enforcement targeting all road users, motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists can help bring those numbers down. This video covers enforcement of laws affecting the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists in Texas and focuses on Texas state laws only. So be sure to consult any additional ordinances or regulations that may apply in your jurisdiction. First, let's define a couple of important terms. What is a crosswalk? According to the Texas Transportation Code, a crosswalk is defined as the portion of a roadway, including an intersection, designated as a pedestrian crossing by surface markings, including lines, or the portion of a roadway at an intersection that is within the connections of lateral lines of the sidewalks on the opposite sides of the highway, measured from the curbs or, in the absence of curbs, from the edges of traversable roadway. The second type is often referred to as an unmarked crosswalk. What is a sidewalk? The portion of a street that is between a curb or lateral line of a roadway and the adjacent property line, and intended for pedestrian use. According to this definition, a sidewalk is simply the area intended for pedestrians that is between the curb or lateral line of a road and the property line. This means that sidewalks do not necessarily have to be paved to be considered a sidewalk. Therefore, a crosswalk exists, marked or unmarked, at an intersection where the lateral lines of the sidewalk extend across the roadway. This means that all four-way intersections have a crosswalk, even if it's not marked with lines. Failure to yield right-of-way is the most commonly cited contributing factor in crashes for motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists alike. But what does that mean in terms of enforcement? Let's review the right-of-way laws. At an intersection with the pedestrian signals in operation, pedestrians are required to follow the pedestrian signals and cross only on the walk signal. A pedestrian should not enter the crosswalk when it says "don't walk" or "wait," or when the red hand is lit or flashing. If no pedestrian signals are installed or in operation, the pedestrian should cross a street when the signal light is green in the direction of travel. As of September 1st, 2021, motorists are now required to both stop and yield to pedestrians where required. This includes the following situations. Motorists making turns while the signal light is green are required to stop and yield the right-of-way to pedestrians and bicyclists on their left and right, unless a green turn arrow is lit, or if the intersection uses pedestrian-only phase where pedestrians from all directions cross the street at the same time. Motorists are also required to stop and yield to pedestrians who are in a marked crosswalk that is not in an intersection, such as a mid-block crosswalk. At all four-way intersections not controlled by a stoplight, pedestrians have the right-of-way, even if there is not a painted crosswalk, and even at intersections with stop control only in one direction. Drivers must stop and yield to pedestrians crossing on the half of the roadway where the vehicle is traveling, or approaching so closely from the opposite half of the roadway as to be in danger. However, when crossing the road at a point other than a four-way intersection or marked crosswalk, a pedestrian should yield the right-of-way to all vehicles. In fact, it is illegal for a pedestrian to cross a road between two adjacent intersections at which traffic control signals are in use. Bicyclists, just like motorists, are required to stop and yield to pedestrians at crosswalks and at all four-way intersections. Now let's review traffic laws and how they apply to bicyclists. When it comes to bicyclists, the Texas Transportation Code states that bicyclists have the same rights and duties as a motor vehicle driver. The same applies to motor-assisted scooters and other vehicles that are considered a vehicle. First, let's review what is considered a motor vehicle and what is considered a motorized conveyance. Motor vehicles include ATVs, autocycles, golf carts, farm tractors, mopeds, and off-highway or utility vehicles. Motorized conveyances include riding lawnmowers, segways, and motorized mobility devices. Bicycle, motor-assisted scooter, and moped operators have the same rights and duties as drivers of vehicles. This includes stopping at stop signs and red lights and using hand signals to signal their intentions to other road users. Bicyclists should ride as far to the right as practicable, but are allowed to ride in the main travel lane, even when a bike lane is present, to avoid obstructions, uneven surfaces, and to make a left turn. Bicyclists are required to ride with the flow of traffic. A bicyclist is also allowed to travel on the left side of the road on a one-way street if there are at least 2 marked lanes. Bicyclists riding at night are required to have a white light on the front of their bicycle and a red light or reflector in the rear. Unless prohibited by a city ordinance, bicyclists are allowed to ride their bicycle on the sidewalk. Motorists are expected to look both left and right when entering an intersection from a stop sign or turning right on red to yield to all traffic, including those on the sidewalk. Bicyclists are allowed to ride side by side according to state law as long as they are not impeding the normal flow of traffic. A person may not open the door of a motor vehicle on the side available to moving traffic unless the door may be open without interfering with the movement of other traffic. This law is especially important for the safety of bicyclists as they are typically riding near parked vehicles. Next, let's talk about some of the other traffic law violations you may see when doing enforcement. A motorist approaching another vehicle from behind may not pass that vehicle if they are stopped to allow a pedestrian to cross the roadway. Pedestrians are required to use the sidewalk if one is available and accessible to them. In terms of bicyclists, by state law, motorists are required to leave a safe passing distance between their vehicle and a bicyclist, which can vary depending on the situation. Some jurisdictions may have specific 3 feet passing rules for passenger vehicles and 6 feet for large commercial vehicles. Additionally, motorists are required to yield a bicyclist that is traveling in the same direction when making a turn or when crossing a bike lane to enter a turn lane. Keep in mind, this also applies to a 2-way protected bike lane that crosses an intersection. We thank you for taking the time to watch our video on laws affecting the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists. If you would like information on upcoming training sessions that may be available, please contact us.